It's into business news with Giles Beckford, our business editor, joining us from Wellington. A flood of company earnings reports today. What were the standouts, Giles?
Well, we had 7 of them today, John, but the standouts were the utilities companies, power companies, Meridian and Genesis. And there's sort of a common theme that goes through the reports from both these companies. At the moment, they've got customers who are swapping left, right and centre, looking for the best deal. Their demand is soft generally. Prices are a little bit up and down depending on the weather, but generally there's not much growth in prices. Margins are being squeezed. It's a bit of a challenge, and of course they are being confronted by new technologies such as solar panels and batteries. And of course the dark cloud on the horizon for energy companies is the future of the TY Point aluminium smelter, which consumes 14% of the country's power. If that were to come onto the market, of course, prices would drop quite significantly, and that just hangs out there. So what we saw from Meridian was a pretty strong underlying profit, moderately higher, but they had enough money to pay out a special dividend. And that's another feature, which is, of course, they're not needing to build power stations. They're making reasonable money, so that when they've got spare cash in the kitty, they're giving it back to their shareholders. And Genesis, although it didn't give back any cash to shareholders, it did give a strong dividend payout of more than 8 cents a share. They're talking about their operating profit being a touch lower. They're looking at enhancing the customer experience. I'm not quite sure how a power company does that, but if you're Genesis Energy, look forward to having your experiences enhanced in the coming year. One other notable profit result today was from MetLife Care, and this is the statement on New Zealand, which is the company is finding boom demand for retirement villages, aged care. The baby boomers such as ourselves and the ageing demographic means that demand for their business will only keep rising, and they're obviously making some hay out of it.
Giles, do you want to talk about a result from Australia unusually?
Well, yes, normally we would just sort of go, well, who cares? But this is one I think of note. Qantas, which is the Australian national carrier. 4 or 5 years ago, Qantas was a basket case. It had multi-billion-dollar deficits.
Yeah.
It was losing money left, right and centre. It had planes that were clapped out. It had too many of the wrong sort of planes. It was on the routes that didn't earn money. It was being done over by really smart operators such as Air New Zealand. A hard man came in to take charge, Alan Joyce. He's turned around the company. He is the man who famously grounded all of Qantas's planes around the world one day 4 or 5 years ago, where he was in the middle of a fight with the unions. Basically, he wanted to push through cost-cutting measures, sack a large number of staff. Clearly, they've also been helped by the big fall in fuel prices. The result is that Qantas has reported $1 billion Australian profit. That's nearly double last year. Their traffic in New Zealand, they don't give too much detail about it, but they're now carrying roughly 20% of New Zealand's domestic traffic on Jetstar. That's up from about 16%. Air New Zealand's still in the driver's seat, or the pilot's seat there. And we just note that this will be a good indicator for Air New Zealand, which comes out on Friday. The expectations are that they will have a profit of $600 million plus.
Wow. What happened on the markets today, Giles?
Well, we had all the froth blown off the market after having 5 or 6 days of continual profits, of record highs. We're down 57 points, that's 0.75% at 7,410. A couple of companies got a real spanking. A2 Milk and Wynyard, the criminal software company, both of them down nearly double-digit falls today. The Kiwi dollar, 72.9 US cents and 95.8 Australian.
Our business editor, Giles Beckford. Thanks, Giles.